there, it's Steve. Hope you're doing fantastic. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to play 5 of the most iconic intros for guitar ever from the 1960s and 70s. I think you'll know all of them, and I'm going to count them down from number 5 to number 1. Number 1 is like one of the most all-time famous classic songs you've ever heard. And I think when you play these things, everybody around you will turn their heads and they'll go, man, they know how to play guitar. So let's give it a shot. I'm done yapping. Hit like, hit subscribe, and let's go. So we'll start here with number 5. This is Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix, and it's in E major right here, but it goes like this. Super cool. Now this is the most complex of all of them, I believe, in this video right here. So if you're more of a beginner, give it a shot. I think you can do it if you take it slow, work your way up. Otherwise, you could head to the next song. But it starts here with this super, dissonant note right here. You're basically hitting the open E string and open A string, which sound terrible together. And then you take any finger and put it on the 13th fret of that A string. Like this. Is that just ridiculously terrible and awesome at the same time? And you go like this, open, and put it like that. But you try to mute this string a little bit like this. Mostly hit that note, the more you can. And then after that, it does this pretty hard, picking thing, unless you're been around guitar for a while. So you go like this. So you slide up this finger to the 9th fret of the D string, and then 7th fret of the G, then you go to the 8th fret of the B string, and down to the 7th fret of the D string, go down 2 frets to the 5th fret of that D string, and then go to the A string 5th fret to the 7th fret all together. Again. And now you stay on this and you stay on the 7th fret of the A string. Like that. So you go to the 7th fret of the A string to the 5th fret of the D string, 7th fret of the D, 9th fret of the D, and back to the 5th fret. You can hit that note if you want to, and then it goes something like that. So all together. So after that first part, you go 7th fret of the A string to the 5th fret, back to the 7th fret of the A string, and then go to the 3rd fret of the E string, like that right there. Something like that. Pretty cool. And then you do it one more time on this 7th fret of the A string. Oops, sorry. After that, and you go like this. So you slid up to the D string on the 9th fret, to the 7th fret of the G, right there to the 9th fret of the G string, and then just, take any strings you go. Now check out my full lesson. I've got a 3-minute lesson on how to play the whole song. You're in an E major, and you hit the low notes of an E major, and then put this finger or your pinky on the 3rd fret of the E and B strings. Very sweet. All right, let's go to number 2. Maybe you've heard this one. Of course you have. It's You Really Got Me by the Kinks. Now, it's technically not that hard in that you're just playing a few chords, but they're power chords and they're constant and they're back and forth. It gets a little easier after that first set. So you go from F up 2 frets to G major. So it's F major to G major, but you're really hitting the low notes only. I mean, you could do the whole chord, but that sounds a little goofy, so just do this. You can do those little, palm muting picks like Eddie Van Halen does in the cover. So F major, 1, 2 downstrokes on the G major, back down to the F, and then you hit the G major and sort of pop it. And the hard part is just don't squeeze that hard, because you just got to quickly flow back and forth. And then after that, it gets a little bit easier. You go to the A chord, and you can do a full bar chord if you want to, like that, you know? But I do it like this. You put your finger right here, play an A major, and you just put this finger on the 3rd fret of the E string. Like that. It's a lot easier, or you could do this. And then it goes, oh yeah. You go to a D major. Now that's the easy way to play it, with a D major, and then go to the 3rd fret of that A string and back up and really play the low notes. But of course you could do this one. That's a bar chord version of a D right here. So check out that bar chord, or, you know, little bar chord way up here on the 10th down to the 8th fret, like that. And then, you know, I got a lesson on this whole song, so check that out as well. But that's how you do the main part, that iconic intro. All right, let's move on to number 3, Rebel Rebel by David Bowie. This one's a lot of fun to play. It's in D major, but you don't use this finger on the high E string. Instead, you leave that open. So you start by hitting the low notes of the D chord, like that, and then that open E string. And because you're in this shape, you go to the 3rd fret of the B string, and then take this finger and put it on the 2nd fret of that B string, and then you go to an E major. And you really try to really emphasize these strings right here, the D, G, and B strings. Hit it twice, and take that finger and put on the 2nd fret of the B, and pull it off. So, and then walk it down. You're still in that E major shape, like that. So you're doing the 1st fret of the G string, and 2nd fret of the D string. So this part. All together slowly. And quickly. And if you can strum, you go back down that low E chord right there. And then start to dig in as the song goes on into the D chord. Make sure you're hitting some staccato notes in there, because that's what really, you know, makes the whole thing sing. Okay, you heard this one in the intro. It's Jumpin' Jack Flash by the Rolling Stones from 1968. This one's really cool. So B major, and you want to play it up here on this 7th fret, whether you bar it or not. It's the way to do it, because you want to hit that note, but you also you're really emphasizing the high notes of this, but you want to hit the low notes every once in a while too. So you're not gonna be able to do a B major down here and have that same effect. So go 1, 2, like that. Strum a little bit in between those 2 big hits, but just make sure the big hits are the ones that shine out. And then go to an E major, but the best way to do it is a bar chord. You could go down, but do a bar chord to an A major. And the A major is the same shape as the B. So again, it's an F major shape all the way up here. And when you go to the A, it's the same shape. So one more time. Major, A, give it a double strum like that right there on B major. Does that a couple of times, then it goes. This one's pretty cool. So right here you're in that B major shape, and you've already got this finger right here, and if you can sort of lay that down flat on the 9th fret of the A and D strings, go like this, and go down 2 frets to the 7th fret, and then back up to the 9th fret, and then D string and G string on the 7th fret. And then you cycle it all the way through again. 7th fret of the A and the D, 9th fret of the A and the D, and back to the D and G strings on that 7th fret. So. Whatever hurricane. Very cool song from the Rolling Stones, and that leads us to number 1. Hotel California by the Eagles. This is really using a 12-string guitar. You know, you got multiple guitarists, so it feels a lot more lush, of course, in the record. But it's very cool to play. When you play it around a campfire, people will be like amazed. So let's start off with a B minor. Again, I use my thumb. I've got a video on using my thumb, how I think it's easier than a bar, but it goes like this. So you start off with a B minor and you really strum the whole thing. And you just pick around, you really go from that, G string, to the B string, back to the G string, and then that E string, but all in the B minor. And then take off this finger, and you leave these fingers here, and the 3rd fret of the B string and that open E make that noise, and then you go to an F sharp major. But you really want to make sure you hit this note. That's the 3rd fret of the G string of that F sharp major. And then sort of pick around, and you could do a whole one like this, or again, just sort of remove this high E string like that. Like that. Pretty cool. And then you go to an A major, whether you play an A here or somewhere else. So really I'm just picking, I'm going low and high. So 3rd G string, B string, back to the G string, and the open E, and then an E major. Then up to a G, D major, then E minor, back to F sharp major. Give it 2 clicks on your guitar. Don't put a hole in it, and don't rage at me in the comments if you break your guitar. And back to B minor right there. And I've got a full lesson on Hotel California. All right, let me know what you think, and if you like number 1 or whether you would put something different. Check out my other videos for 6 intros from the 60s. I've got a different one from 7 intros from the 70s, and a whole lot more. And give me more ideas in the comments. Hope it was helpful. If it was, hit like and subscribe on your way out, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.